Welcome to today's deep dive. Let's start with the picture here. Think about your car's airbag. It just sits there hidden, like basically useless until the exact moment everything goes horribly wrong.
Right, and then boom, it deploys to save you.
Exactly. And most of us treat our faith or, our core beliefs exactly like that airbag, like it's strictly an emergency response system.
Yeah, I mean, we wait for the crash, right? We only reach for that spiritual grounding when we're already spiraling or after a total emotional collapse.
Okay, let's unpack this. Today, our mission is to explore this really insightful book by Orrie Karim called Faith-Anchored Lifestyle Systems.
It's such a fascinating read.
It really is. And Karim argues that faith shouldn't be the airbag that deploys in a crash. It should actually be the car's structural chassis. It's the framework you deliberately build before it's ever needed.
And that shift from airbagged chassis is crucial because, well, emotional faith is inherently unstable. I mean, emotions fluctuate by the hour.
Oh, absolutely. They're all over the place.
Right. So if your faith only activates when you feel deeply inspired or when you're in a crisis, it's not really infrastructure. Real infrastructure bears weight consistently.
Yeah, building a structure independent of your mood is what creates actual lasting peace.
Instead of just constantly reacting to the storms. Exactly.
So, if faith is the chassis, what are the actual steel beams holding it together? Karim points to 4 core pillars.
Yeah, she lays them out as spiritual alignment, behavioral discipline, emotional regulation, and environmental stewardship.
Which sounds great, but what really stood out to me is how these aren't just, abstract ideas on a page.
Mm-hmm.
They physically interlock to bear weight.
They have to interlock to work. I mean, think about spiritual alignment as your internal compass. Once you establish that true north, you can practice emotional regulation.
Right, which isn't about just burying your feelings.
No, not at all. Karim explains it's about observing your emotions without letting them grab the steering wheel. And that careful observation creates space for behavioral discipline.
Okay, I have to push back a bit here, though,
Yep.
because Karim mentioned behavioral discipline as a pillar, which makes sense for a chassis, but how do you actually rely on discipline when your emotions are running hot?
That is the big question.
Right, like when you're incredibly stressed or exhausted, prioritizing consistency over your mood is usually the very first thing to crumble.
Well, what's fascinating here is how Karim solves this with a mechanism she calls decision reduction. You don't try to negotiate with your emotions in the heat of the moment.
Oh, so you pre-decide.
Exactly. You use habit stacking. Rather than waking up and bargaining with yourself like, should I read my daily reflections today? You've already hardwired the rule.
Like I read immediately after breakfast.
Right. By linking the new behavior to an existing non-negotiable routine, you bypass the emotional negotiation entirely. The system enforces the alignment, not your willpower.
So you're just removing the friction of choice. But, a chassis endures a lot of daily wear and tear. To keep it structurally sound, Karim suggests implementing a daily faith system to keep you anchored.
Yeah, and she outlines 3 specific mechanisms for that. There's a morning grounding moment to set intentions, a midday reset, and an evening reflection to release mental weight.
I really love the midday reset idea.
It is vital. And it's not some, hour-long retreat. It's just a deliberate, short pause right at the height of your day's chaos.
So you actively step away, assess the emotional friction you've picked up, and recalibrate before pushing through the afternoon.
Yeah, it actively interrupts that exhausting cycle of reactive living.
So what does this all mean for you as the listener? It establishes your own internal authority, doesn't it?
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the ultimate goal of these daily anchors isn't just about surviving the day. It's identity formation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Through repetition, you graduate from saying, I'm trying to be disciplined, to stating, I am an intentional person. The shift is structural, so you are changing the foundation of how you view yourself.
Which actually raises a question I kept asking while reading the book. Does this much structure make life oppressively rigid?
It's a totally fair concern.
But answering via the text, Karim notes that life doesn't actually get easier when you do this. It just gets organized. And organized systems are far easier to maintain than chaotic ones.
True faith infrastructure shifts you away from reaction and into structure, ensuring you remain grounded regardless of what circumstances throw at you.
And environmental stewardship, that 4th pillar, plays a huge role here, right? Managing the physical and digital spaces around you to support that structure.
Yeah, Karim warns that you can't build this new intentional identity in a toxic garage, so to speak.
Absolutely. And she leaves us with this really provocative thought. Your environment isn't just background noise. It is programming. What you consume daily becomes what you normalize.
It really makes you think.
It does. So look closely at your life right now. What subtle digital inputs are currently rewriting your internal programming and overriding your chassis without you even realizing it? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.